Again, a delay due to technical issues. We're starting right away. And I started by saying my name is Samuel Orontoba here at the Institute of African Studies. We're happy to welcome our speaker, distinguished speaker today, Yvonne, who has been working with her husband, Michael Weah, who started the We Care Foundation about 30 years ago. And the foundation developed into the book chain, which evolved into Moravia Reading Fest. And for a long time, the only public library offering a variety of programming to increase literacy. The organization is a partnership between Code, which was established in 2009. They had a partnership established since 2009. And together they've delivered numerous educational programs to improve early grade literacy through book development and teacher training. They have an ongoing program called Teaching and Learning in Fragile Contexts, co-funded by the Global Affairs Canada, and the Guest Accelerated Learning Initiative, funded by the Canadian public. So Yvonne is a passionate advocate of every child's rights to quality education. She's an experienced education program administrator and teacher training. And she has a master's in education administration and supervision, and is currently studying for a doctorate in education administration from Atlantic International University. So you're welcome to speak to our audience today. It's a hybrid, as you can see. Some of us are here, some people are online. So you speak for some time, and then maybe 20, 30 minutes, and then we'll get questions from the audience. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Samuel, will you mute?
Okay.
Thank you.
Today, I will be presenting on learning poverty. We know that literacy is a gateway that can open the door to the world of opportunities, and yet, according to the World Bank, starting 70% of children in low and middle income countries are experiencing learning poverty, defined as the inability to read a simple text with comprehension by age 10. There is no survey in Liberia that has been done exactly to establish the rate of learning poverty in Liberia, but we can conclude from other statistics in education that it is very high. Children are not learning to read as they should. We are privileged to be here today in recognition of Canada's International Development Week to speak about the obstacles to combating learning poverty in Liberia. And what We Care as an organization is working closely in collaboration with communities, governments, and partners like Ottawa-based Charity Code and other actors are doing to improve foundational learning. Yeah, at this university, I don't need to tell you the importance of education and the key role that it plays in the changing of people's lives and helping them realize their full potential and become productive citizens in the society. For a background for where I'm from, Liberia is located in West Africa with a population of 4.5 million people. Before I forget to tell you, Liberia is a hot country. Right now we are at 32 degrees centigrade, so the country is very warm. But this country is interesting because its origin comes from former slaves from the United States of America that went back to Africa because they wanted freedom, they wanted liberty. So Liberia was never colonized. In 1822, when they left and went back to Africa, they were there up to 1847. When other European governments tried to colonize them, Liberians came together and they declared their independence, making Liberia the first sovereign nation in West Africa and in Africa. So if you see our flag, we have the Lone Star. It means the first sovereign nation in Africa. Liberia is also unique in that Liberia was the first country in Africa to elect a female president, President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. She served the country from 2006 to 2017. I also want to let you know that your Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, also visited Liberia in 2016. And I had the opportunity to read with him to children in one of the schools that we had our project. However, Liberia illiteracy rate is more than 50%, making it a critical factor in the development of this country. Addressing this problem is the newly elected president. One of his priorities, he has endorsed education as one of the pillars for development of the nation and the creation of the environment with social equity, opportunity for all. This will be a major intervention for the Liberia education system, which is faced with a stream of complex challenges, including 14 years of civil war, the Ebola epidemic in 2014, then the COVID-19 epidemic in 2020. Despite discovery interventions and many efforts to address the challenges in the education sector over the last few decades, children are still not learning to read fluently with comprehension in their foundational years in schooling. Learning outcomes at all levels remain below the Ministry of Education expectation from the foundational early grades to the secondary level. Why is this so? Most children in Liberia enroll when they are much older than the grade stipulated. Overage enrollment exacerbates dropout rates, and there is high level of repetition at all education levels. At the primary level, almost 79% of the children are too old for the age. Overage children not in the age-appropriate grades compounded by challenges of not being able to read are factors leading to learning poverty. But let us look at some other statistics. Net enrollment rate at the primary level in Liberia is only 43.4%. Many teachers do not have the training that they need to be effective in the classroom. They do not have the teaching and learning materials that they need to create the environment for children to learn how to read. There is high school registration and restriction based on the fees that we put in registration that cause impoverished families to not be able to send their children to school at an early age. There are many families with children that are not out of school. Also from our education inclusive policy, there is a high rate of children with disability that is not in school. Also, when they do go to school, they drop out early. We have a lot of challenges. As I mentioned earlier, the Ministry of Education of the Republic of Liberia has identified quality education as the solution to these problems. If she must develop the requisite human resources for a strong democratic nation with equal opportunity for all, within this context, the Weah Foundation, along with the government and members of local and international nonprofit organizations, are consolidating their efforts in buffering the education sector of Liberia. Weah Foundation, a local nonprofit organization, was established in 1992 in the midst of a civil war. We started by putting food in containers from the United States and stacking books on the top of the food and sending it to Liberia for the starving people during the time of the war. During the war, also, there was the time of curfew that came in from 4 to 5 p.m. to 6 a.m. People had to be indoors. So the books that we brought, we gave it out to people. And the rule was that when you read the book, you should just pass it on to another person. In that way, we started the book chain. In the way the people came to collect these books, we were encouraged to bring more books. Then the idea came, why everybody is feeding the stomach, we need to have the mind developed. And education was the way to go. Because we knew that the war would end, and education and educated people were supposed to be there to start the country going again. So that led into the Weah Library. And the library became the first public library in the capital city, Monrovia, in Liberia. Over the years, Weah has delivered a range of reading and learning programs in schools and communities focused on foundational learning, which form the bedrock in attacking learning poverty. And this program has been successful. Weah is working in close collaboration with communities, governments, and organizations, like I said again, Ottawa-based Charity Court, and other local actors to improve foundational learning at 3 levels. We can have an early childhood education program that is at 3 levels. We have the home-based early childhood program that caters to parents with children ages 3 to 5 through home visit. We have the community-based early childhood program that develop early childhood centers in how to reach areas that children can have access to early childhood education. Then we have the school-based early childhood program, where we train teachers and certificate them with the minimum early childhood certificate to qualify them to teach at the early childhood level. Before we can form the partnership with CODE, Weah was mostly working on its own to improve literacy in Liberia, attacking a huge problem, but we were getting very little expected outcome and impact. CODE, a Canadian-based organization with its international status, working towards improving literacy globally through partnership with local organizations, forged a partnership with Weah, seeing the potential of really making a difference in a war-torn country. These two core partners brought the expertise together and have implemented and sustained several programs and projects, with literacy being the core since 2008. Weah Foundation serves as the on-the-ground implementing partner, and CODE provides access to funding and technical support. The two partners are active participants in the projects, and their update monthly meetings reflect their collaboration and bring respected, knowledgeable voices to the table. With this structured partnership working together, it has been successful and mutually beneficial. This partnership has identified the challenges and developed programs aligned to the government of Liberia Ministry of Education and strategy to improve education in Liberia. We have adapted different constructive approaches to the context of Liberia. The strength of localization is the means for sustainability, is key to our partnership. Weah, along with CODE, has increased its reach, strengthened its capacity, and has become more valuable in the education system of Liberia. Quote and Weah partnership implements the next two levels of Weah's work in foundational literacy in Liberia. We work together at the primary level with the Ministry of Education, and quote. We work together at the university level with colleges of education. We work with quote with funding from Global Affairs Canada, along with the Ministry of Education and the National Commission on Higher Education. All of the above programs that we implement, their aim is to improve student learning outcome. Working with quote, we have included the gender responsive pedagogy in teaching, and we have also provided access to life skill for overage girls. The quote Weah program's design has the triangular approach to improving learning outcomes of students in Liberia. The triangular approach is that you have trained teachers, conducive learning environment, and quality teaching and learning materials. So these form all the basis of our program that we work together on. Over the years, we have worked to train more than 1,600 primary teachers, qualifying them with the minimum C certificate qualification as teachers in Liberia. And they have served more than 44,000 students. We have access to qualified teachers. We also, in the means of providing qualitative teaching and learning material, together we develop and publish high quality, culturally relevant children books. We have developed more than 22 titles of these books that have gone to hundreds of schools all over Liberia. These books are gender responsive. They also have environmental awareness and action, because also in Liberia, we are experiencing climate change. As I told you that our climate is very warm, but even the rainy season that we had before, we are not having it as we used to. And we are on the shores of the Atlantic Ocean, and the ocean is wiping away portion of our land as I speak. So we include environmental issues in our books. We also have 15 schools that we are doing digital and distance learning through the Rachel's offline server and with tablets. We provide training for teachers and students that they can access these digital materials. The teachers can also upload content on this offline and server. Our community is also important because our children come from the community, and we see there is large overage enrollment. So we engage the community through one-to-one interaction, house-to-house awareness on how early to send your girl child to school or even the boy child to school. And also we create the environmental awareness on climate resilience and actions that can improve our environment. We have been to homes around our schools community to more than 1,500 schools. Also, we have this special after-school tutoring classes for overage girls. We call this program the Girls Accelerated Learning Initiative. For short, we say GALI. This program provides daily after-school tutoring for overage girls. It gives them the opportunity to be accelerated 2 times in 1 academic year. Over the last 5 years, we have had more than 2,000 girls benefiting from this program. The life skill program, the life skill component of the program, equip them with confidence that they need to accelerate their learning to a more appropriate age per grade. Over the years, we have had from one school, we went to 5 schools. From 5 schools, we went to 20 schools. Currently, we are in 40 schools implementing this program. And from tracing the girls that have participated in this program, we have girls now in 10th and 11th grade. That is seriously a plus for Liberia. As educated women, you know that you have educated nation. And if the nation is educated, you will have more productive output from its citizenry. The continuing of WEAH's program with strong focus on literacy is helping to reduce learning poverty in Liberia. This year marks COURT and WEAH's 16th year of partnership. WEAH partnership that has provided Liberia education system with proven evidence-based best practices to improve student learning outcomes, reduce overage enrollment at the primary level, and increase gender equity that can be replicated and scaled throughout Liberia. The programs that COURT and WEAH are implementing are now well positioned to be extended throughout Liberia as an integral component of the broader national education strategy. Before I stop for questions, I must remind those that are listening online and we that are sitting in the room that we must address learning poverty with the tool that will fit it. To have trained teachers, conducive learning environment, quality reading, and instructional materials will not just happen. We must persuade our government and other stakeholders to make more funds available to education. Education is an integral part of the national development, and the nation's budget should reflect the importance of education. Most importantly, we must come together to promote inclusive education, where in Canada and in Liberia, we can hand in hand destroy the shackles of learning poverty and create a bond around foundational education in a world where every child can read and learn, giving them the opportunity to create their own dreams. Education as the foundation is the key to a brighter, better, and more productive and inclusive society and a nation. Thank you.
Wow, that's a great presentation. Thank you so much for sharing your heart with us. I think this is not just from the brain, it's from the heart. And I think it goes to the foundation of what you've been doing over the years. And thank you so much. You're very right. If without education, all the whole talk about development cannot be achieved. And it's so very concerning that what you have narrated in the case of Liberia is also applicable to so many African countries.
Yeah.
So, and that I think everything they're just related together. insecurity, terrorism, all of that. Without education, the problem just continues. So, but what we've done and in partnership with the core, that's been fantastic. We hope that people will listen to you to provide more support to the great work we are doing. Thank you so much. The floor is open now. If you have questions for Yvonne, please raise your hand and we will identify you. Maybe I should use my privilege as a share to say, you talk about lack of qualified teachers, and I'm wondering if there are opportunity for Peace Corps or volunteer teachers from maybe other African countries, like Nigeria, for instance. They sponsor what they call Peace Corps to technical aid corps, or even from the US. I think they have some Peace Corps program. So do you think, have they, explored that possibility, or do you think that can provide some support?
Yes, we had Peace Corps volunteers in the early 60s and 70s. Then during the war, Peace Corps had to leave. When Ellen Johnson Sirleaf became president, the Peace Corps came back to Liberia and they started working. Then Ebola came, they had to leave. They came back, then COVID came, they had to leave. And then they are back in Liberia, but in small numbers. And then they have this program they call the Peace Corps Response Volunteer. They come for 1 year and they leave, and they are into different areas. As you said, also volunteers from Liberia. Last year, 14 teachers came from Nigeria to Liberia to volunteer as teachers, mostly in the area of science and math. So we are exploring other areas, but in the meantime, our children ages are not remaining the same. Every year you get older, and we have this problem.
Good. Thank you very much. Yeah, Sarah is asking a question: is the lack of qualified teacher related to lack of curriculum resources and teacher pay?
The lack of qualified teachers comes partly as a result of our Civil War. During the time of the Civil War, a lot of qualified persons migrated to other countries. These people did not return. Then what happened is that when the qualified were not available, those that were available became qualified. They took over the classroom, causing this huge number of unqualified persons coming into the classroom and taking the place as teachers. We also have this situation of low incentives too for teachers. Because even when the Rural Teacher Training Institute and train teachers, the problem with placement is also a problem. So we have a school that we have 12 teachers, and then as soon as you go right into a rural area, you will have a school with only 2 or 3 teachers. So we have multiple challenges. Why would a trained teacher want to go to the rural area when he doesn't have housing, he doesn't have safe drinking water, he doesn't have electricity, and then his children or his family will not have proper health care. So these are all challenges that we are facing. We have curriculum. We just 3 years ago had our curriculum revised. So now we are using the competency-based curriculum. But a curriculum without the learning materials to support the curriculum is also a challenge.
Great. Thank you.
Samuel, there's some questions in there.
Okay.
Yes.
Jane.
Yes, thank you so much for this wonderful presentation and for showcasing the work that you do. I was just wondering, in the focus of your work, I know you work more with schools, but do you also, in the work you do, try to promote or engage with informal education? So Is it only the formal sector that you engage with in your work, or do you also, given the fact that you go to rural communities, do you engage in informal education in any way?
Like in our early childhood program, we go to economically challenged communities. And when we recruit families with children ages 3 to 5, and we do the parent survey, and we find out that this parent is illiterate, we have an adult literacy component to that program that provides literacy skills for the parents to be able to teach the children. So that is where we are with informal through adult literacy classes in the rural area and those downtrodden communities. Besides that, we are focused with school teacher training, book production, and we have the overage after school tutoring.
Yes. I could ask, can you talk a little bit about the teacher training college work that you're starting to do in terms of working with teacher training colleges as well as directly with teachers?
Okay, over the years, we have been doing in-service teacher training. But as we continue to train in service and we monitor, we found out that students that were coming in from the university pre-service, the quality of instruction was low, the pedagogical skills were a bit low. So currently, in partnership with CODE, with funding from Global Affairs Canada, we have this project that is called Teaching and Learning in Fragile Contexts. This program is directly involved with teacher training colleges, where we are providing pedagogical skills for teacher educators that are going to be teaching student teachers. A key component to this project is the practicum process, where pre-service teachers go to schools to practice how to teach through the practicum process during the last semester before they get the first degree. In this project, we also train the host teachers, because we have this problem that some schools that were providing practicum services like the Rural Teacher Training Institute, when we went to monitor the practicum process at these schools that the children were practicing in, the tendency is that for the teachers at these schools to take vacation during that time, the student teacher come to practice, when they should be serving as a support, as mentors for these children. And I don't blame them, because if you yourself lack the skills, you are kind of intimidated if somebody is coming with a college education to your classroom and say, come and mentor me. So what we're doing with this program is to train the host teachers in how they mentor these student teachers. So we have also the community of practice, where we bring in these student teachers that are starting to become career teachers together as a community, that they can share experiences, their strengths and their weaknesses. Then at the teacher educators level, we also have a community of practice that they also share their experiences in what they are offering to students and the way in which they are going into the practice school to mentor their students along with the host teachers. Then we have the community of practice of host teachers, where they come together to build on each other's strength. At times, the student teachers are also invited to their community of practice. We are doing this like a holistic approach to improving the pre-service and teacher output, giving these children the time that they will feel confident in the classroom. For an example, when the teacher educators were preparing student teachers to go for practice teaching, I went to this class and they have 15 pre-service teachers preparing for practice. Then we went to the practice school to observe them in the school. When I got to that school and into that class, there were 96 students in the first grade. And that teacher was standing there and she was sweating. After you have come from your theoretical with 15 students in the classroom, you go to a school with 96 students. But this is the condition that they will meet after they complete their studies. So this project is really building them that they will have some experience relative to what they're going to meet, and then also build the performance in the classroom as instructors. The program also have a writing component where we are developing books anthology form for grade 1 to grade 6. We also have the digital learning component that will be in the practice schools and at the university, because mind you, we have teacher educators that are not digital literate. So we are combining all these components to make education better at the college level and at the practice level. And this project is being funded by Global Affairs Canada, which we must commit them for, because it is a way of having sustainable quality education for student teachers.
Thank you. We have Alhaji Darami. Over to you. Alhaji Darami.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Yvonne, for the presentation. Alhaji Darami from Sierra Leone. I work for Code Sierra Leone. My question is around the fact that we have a huge number of trained and qualified teachers who are ready to teach, but the problem is that they are not absorbed in the teaching field. And this particular situation has led to a case wherein more college students are now shying away from going to do education that we qualify them to be teachers. Hence, we are running short supply of students enrolled in college trying to become teachers in the future. And we know that teacher is a single most variable that is responsible for learning outcome in the classroom. So how could we get around such a challenge to ensure that teachers that have qualified from training colleges can be absorbed to actually help the teaching profession, particularly at the foundational learning stage? Thank you very much.
Thank you. That is a very good question. And I hope that the government of Sierra Leone and the government of Liberia would hear your question, because it is so important that we have children that are graduating from the College of Education that are going and pursuing other careers because of lack of placement. We got to put in strategy where we will have a deployment of teachers, and we must increase teachers' incentive if we must maintain and sustain and qualified teachers into our system. We had a situation where we were training teachers at the Rural Teacher Training Institute, and government was not even prepared to deploy those teachers after their training. But when you look at the government budget for education, Liberia has not even reached the quota for education budget. We are still below that benchmark. What Liberia allocate for education in her budget, 85% of it goes to the payment of teachers. And still do not have sufficient teachers in the classroom. We do not have sufficient qualified teachers in the classroom. So we need to rethink our strategy, because if you are a doctor today it was because a teacher taught you to be a doctor. If you are an engineer, a teacher taught you to be an engineer. So we need to rethink the strategy on how we can maintain our teachers to the profession that they have studied for. It's something that our government now, they have just come in, right? They came in January, I was to the inauguration in the summer, but they have said that education is a priority. We want to see that reflected in the education budget. And Sierra Leone need to see it reflected in their education budget. If we must have qualified teachers in the classroom, then those students that are getting qualified as educators must have a job. They must be paid in a way that it will sustain them and their family. Sometimes in Liberia, they say, oh, that poor teacher. There was a time that the county education officer went to one of our training, and he told the teachers, if you want to be rich, do not go into the teaching profession. Why is that? It is demotivational for you to tell me that I'm training to be a teacher, but I will always be poor. I say it is an abomination because I was not born on earth to remain poor. I have a passion to be a teacher, but my work must also support me and support my family. So it's a good thing, but it is a challenge. It is not only in Sierra Leone in Liberia, for most of Africa.
At least
Has that problem.
they said the reward of the teacher is in heaven,
Yeah.
right? That's what they thought in Africa, that you get your reward when you get to heaven.
Yeah. And you're going to be walking on the streets of gold. But then nobody has come back from that place and said, yes, there's a street of gold. So I'm not saying give me gold, right? But give me something that is able to sustain me and my family.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, Andre?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. I might just turn this bit on. Thank you so much, Yvonne. It's such a pleasure to learn about We Care and about code and your various projects. My name is Lindsay. I'm a professor here at Carleton and an affiliate of the Institute of African Studies. I was intrigued by your emphasis on evidence-based practice. And prior to coming to this talk, I had a look at your website and saw that you also support various research initiatives across several countries in sub-Saharan Africa. And I'm wondering if you can tell us about some of the research projects that your organization supports.
So I will take that over to him because he's called the research person.
Okay.
I was there yesterday in the meeting and he was really talking about it. So I will ask him to go ahead.
Introduce yourself.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ugochukwu Okoye. I'm a staff of code, and I'm also a student here at Carleton and affiliate of the institute as well. So regarding the question you asked about there are quite a number of research initiatives.
I'm so sorry. I just want to make sure. I think I've been muted this whole time. I'm so sorry. I apologize to everyone. So the question was if Yvonne and Code could speak to the various research initiatives that their organizations are supporting. And I'm going to turn to the person who will answer. And could you please introduce yourself again? Sorry.
Okay. Just to introduce myself again, my name is Ugochukwu Okoye. I'm a staff of Code, managing some of our research initiatives. I'm also a student here at Carleton and also an affiliate with the Institute of African Studies. So regarding the question you asked about some of the projects, one of our flagship projects at Code research project is the Context Matters Research Initiative. And it's generally a small grants project. And the whole idea is to support African-based researchers to lead the research projects that will help generate evidences to support advocacy for in increased investment in education, but also at the same time inform some of our literacy interventions on the continent. So that is one of the projects, one of the research initiatives we are currently undertaking. At present, we have about 8 ongoing research projects spread across different parts of Africa. The project has been running on for about 5 years now, beginning from 2018. We are currently in the 5th round of funding, and so far we've supported about 20 projects. 12 have been completed, while 8 are still ongoing and spread across different countries from Ghana, Nigeria, Uganda, Kenya, and so many other African countries. At the moment, we also have a second research initiative, which we just started last year, which is more focused on teaching and learning in fragile contexts, more targeted at the refugee population. So essentially, it's a research initiative modeled after the context matters, in which we provide small grants to Africa-based researchers to undertake research to kind of identify what are the gaps within the IDP and refugee education literacy space, and how do we generate evidence that will support intervention, but in terms of improving access to education, quality of education, and also inform policy as well. So the project is currently ongoing, and we have another research initiative, TPD at Scale, which is essentially aimed at generating evidence to support continuous teacher training development, and that in particular is the focus is pretty much on Sierra Leone. The TLFC program, it's got across Pan Africa, but we have the program objective itself being taking place in Liberia and Sierra Leone, while the research initiative is spread across Africa. We just announced the first call for proposal under the TLFC program, and we've received applications. So far, we received about 35 applications, in which the process of selecting those that will be funded, because we're hoping to support at least 20 research initiatives under that particular program. So it's still ongoing. The next round of call for proposal will be going out pretty much later in the year, in March possibly. Yeah.
Great. Thank
I
you.
just want to add a little bit to the discussion around the research piece, because I think what's interesting for me and on the TLFC project is that it is really the topics of research have been defined by an African group of experts and academics to say these are the key issues that we think are most important to be investigated at this point. So we have an advisory committee of 10 African scholars and practitioners in the field of education, and they helped us define the first round, and based on that and what research questions have come up, are redefining what the framework should be in terms of the research questions that might come. So it's an interesting different way to really look at supporting research. But the Context Matters really did support early researchers, like just out of their PhD, because they're very small grants, etc. These ones are slightly bigger, and they're a little bit more focused to get answers to questions that people have and they want answered.
Great.
So it's research to action.
Thank you. Andrew, you wanted to add something?
We still have time?
We can still take one
Noticing the
question.
numbers sort of dwindling up there.
Yeah.
My question, was sort of twofold. The first is that about 5 or 6 years ago now, Liberia made headlines, right, by inviting charter schools or private schools to help augment its public school system in recognition of the fact that, children weren't learning what they needed to be learning in the classroom. I'm just curious, and at the time it was heralded as, great innovation and experimentation, and to have these private schools essentially run by sometimes US corporations. I'm just curious, you've been in the sector for so long. What have you seen come of that? The good, the bad, and the ugly. Just curious, because I think it was a good example of innovation, but I'm not sure where it landed.
Yeah, I'm going to where was I? San Francisco, to an education conference, and there was a research that found out that the 2017 elections in Liberia, the communities that went against the charter schools did not vote for the party that was that supported it. So that was strange to me. But my time that I have been working with schools and most of the time interacting with other school authorities and observing, one of the things that happen is that those charter schools write to WeCare and ask for teachers that they have trained. So when you train the teachers, then they take those teachers on. Another thing is that they are digital. But being digital in Liberia, a lot of time you will not have signal because we do not have the fiber optic cable to have good internet service. All the lessons are scripted and are placed on tablets. That does not encourage creativity and innovation from the teachers. It does not take into consideration each learner as an individual. So the very question that you need to ask is placed on that tablet. And the lessons per the unit is not always readily available and on time. Therefore, I have been to school that they have not seen the teacher the lesson on the tablet, and that teacher will not teach a new lesson because he or she is waiting for the lesson to come. Students lose out on instructional hours based on that. And you know that children learn in different styles. We know that there are different levels of learning. We had a training with host teachers, and one of the schools, they were part of this charter school, and we were really helping them, the teachers, educators were helping them on how to plan lessons. And one of the comments that they made, why should we plan lesson when they're already providing the lesson plan for us? So when those charter schools leave, we will have another crisis because we have hundreds of teachers that have forgotten how to plan lessons. So that is the situation. We embrace them because we didn't have anything to replace it with. But in the long run, I don't think it would be beneficial for our school system.
Right. Thank you so much. You've given us so much to chew. And I hope we are all inspired by what you are doing and looking for ways to support. Maybe, I'm so much amazed by the fact that the second part of your project is funded by the Canadian public. That's great thumb up for Canada, and hope we can get more support for what we are doing. Thank you so much for coming to the IAS Brownback lecture series today. Hoping to see you again at the end of this next month. I think we have the next one in March. Thank you so much. Maybe we inform you of our next lecture series. Thank you so much. Gabriel? Thanks so much, Peter. When is our next lecture?
6th of March.
6th of March. The next lecture is on 6th of March. Thank you so much, friend. Thanks to the Institute